interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm here, dude. It's been a night. For all you guys watching out there, it's been pretty technical difficulties going on so far tonight. So let's hope this rolls smooth as butter, silk, whatever.
Yeah, after an hour and a half worth of internet goofs and whatever all else, we're going to try this here anyway. Hopefully Lance can stick with us.
I think I'm good. I have a good feeling about this time, dude.
All right. Well, let's roll into it and then welcome to episode.
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome to episode 101 of Vikings Uncensored. Got a crap ton of stuff going on. As we know, the new league year is fast approaching. So let's just dive right into it here before Lance's internet freezes up again on us. Starting off with some non-football related news for the week. Sunday night, KJ Osborn and his Uber driver and a couple of other people that were with him rescued a man from a burning car down in Austin, Texas. So it's kind of
Austin?
Yeah, Austin, Massachusetts.
Boston, Texas?
Yes.
Oh, Austin, okay, yeah, Austin, Massachusetts.
Austin, Massachusetts, Boston, Texas, yes. But anyway, we wanted to give KJ a shout out here. I mean, right. Truly heroic thing that he and the others did to save that man.
Good human being.
Yep.
Some people would just drive by without even stopping, in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just
what it is.
It shows his character.
Right. But anyway, beyond that, ton of football stuff going on this week. Things going left and right here. Of course, the legal tampering period begins on Monday at 12 Eastern time, ending at 3:59 p.m. on Wednesday, and then the new league year starts at 4 p.m. on Wednesday Eastern time. But the activity has started in a fury this week. Of course, we had the deadline for franchise tags and things like that. But started it all off with quarterback Derek Carr signing a 4-year, $150 million deal with the New Orleans Saints. Gets himself basically $70 million fully guaranteed right off the get-go, and then through the life of the contract, there's $100 million in guarantees with roster bonuses and things like that.
Right.
Then, not to be outdone, Geno Smith signed a 3-year, $105 million deal with the Seattle Seahawks.
Earned it.
Yep. So that, nice to see Geno, who has struggled for so many years throughout the league, just to catch on.
Brought up a lot of jokes, dude, for sure.
Yep, but kudos to him. Then some over in New York, Daniel Jones better be sending Ed Donatel one hell of a Christmas present this year. The Giants and Daniel Jones agreeing to a 4-year, $160 million contract, $82 million fully guaranteed, and another $35 million in possible incentives. So, I mean,
well,
he
the way he
basically
played last year, he earned it too.
I don't believe that Daniel Jones is worth $40 million a year, but kudos to him for getting it.
Yeah.
Problem is that resets the quarterback market once again.
I was just going to say that. That's what I was going to say. Yep. That's where the quarterback market's getting now is to the point where quarterbacks like Daniel Jones are going to get paydays as well. So,
which means
fringe guys, basically.
Right, which means guys like this throws a complete monkey wrench into any discussions of a possible Kirk Cousins extension and stuff like that. But we're not going to get into Kirk tonight. We hit him pretty hard last week, so we got too much other stuff to talk about here. But then also there was a couple of significant franchise tags put on, being the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson could not come to an agreement. They placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Jackson for $32.41 million for next year. So
$1 million.
Then on top of that,
but another team can go after him though.
Yeah, if you want to give up 2 first-round picks, but the problem is the fully guaranteed contract that one Lamar Jackson wants is making anything Kirk has ever asked for look like peanuts. And
it's the quarterback market, which we just alluded to, though.
It is, but the problem with Lamar Jackson, he has missed 10 games in the last 2 years, so he has that injury history that makes a fully guaranteed contract a very poor business decision in my mind.
Sensitive or hesitant to signing a guy like that to that type of deal. Yeah.
Yep. Then beyond that, the Cowboys put the franchise tag on running back Tony Pollard, $10.2 million a year. So they've got over $25 million tied up in running backs next year, assuming Zeke Elliott sticks around because he's already playing on that big deal. So
Zeke Elliott's best years are behind him for sure.
Yeah.
I was never a big Zeke Elliott guy to begin with anyways, but whatever play days he had are gone.
Yeah, I can see Elliott being a cap cut here before the league year starts or shortly thereafter, I think. Then the only other real news, non-Vikings related, Tennessee Titans have been rumored to be shopping Derrick Henry, and rumors on Thursday came out that Matthew Stafford may be available. They've said that the Rams have made calls gauging interest in anybody wanting to trade for Stafford. So
was like I mentioned to you earlier, when they see somebody like Baker Mayfield come in and be able to run the offense just as efficiently as Matthew Stafford has been at a lower price, you kind of start to question things as an organization here. Excuse me.
Right.
So.
But anyway, and of course, the Rams went all in to win that Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they don't have crap for draft picks for like the next 3 years. So I think they're trying to recoup some of that to try to rebuild the team because now they're paying the piper for that. But hey, they got a title out of it. So
speaking of recouping draft picks, Rhino, why don't you take us into the next news for the Vikings?
Yeah, we're going to roll into actual stuff going on with the Vikings so far this week. Of course, Monday morning, right off the get-go, it came out that the Vikings had released one Eric Kendricks.
You can feel the last bit of Zimmer leaking out of this team. I mean, the last little bit of connections to the Zimmer regime are slowly – this is becoming Kevin O'Connell's team, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And, we've been talking about this for several weeks that Eric Kendricks was going to likely be a cap casualty. I still think he can play in a 4-3 defense,
which we talked about last week.
Yep. So
it could be still really. It could be a good player in a 4-3 at somewhere. Mm-hmm. I believe.
Yeah. So I would see him getting picked up fairly quickly. But wish him well as long as he doesn't go to Green Bay.
No kidding. But then he'd be a 3-4 again too. So I don't see.
Well, yeah. So I would think maybe he would be looking. Maybe he's a California guy. Maybe
what
he'd
about
be
the
looking.
Bears, man. I could see him going to the Bears if he wanted to stay in the division.
Yeah, maybe. Then on Thursday, on Mackey and Judd, Darren Doogie Wolfson came on with a couple of little spicy nuggets. Right. He is reporting as of Thursday that there has been a trade offer submitted for Dalvin Cook.
Yep, this is what I was alluding to.
Now, no, he didn't know the compensation. It came out after.
A fifth rounder. I heard a fifth rounder is what I heard.
That's what I heard too. Now after Doogie kind of broke the news, then a lot of people went scurrying around, and basically the way it sounds, it was a 5th round pick.
It'd be nice to get a 4th, man. If you get to sweeten the pot and get a 4th, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Now, yeah, I don't blame the Vikings if they're trying to get more than that, but I think when it all boils down to it, if you can get at least a 5th round pick for Dalvin Cook before the league year starts, you take it.
Right. But like I said, ideally, I would want a 4th. To sweeten the pot, just give me that 4th, please.
Yeah,
it'd be fantastic. But if you got to go with a early, late round pick, I guess a 5th cuts it. It's whatever.
It's something, and it gives us some.
Take you on the cap too more.
Right. So hopefully in the next day or two, we'll see something there. Then also on Thursday afternoon, a couple other big ones. Here again, one here that's not really a surprise. Adam Schefter was reporting that there is a real possibility that the Vikings will be moving on from Adam Thielen in the next couple of days. Sticking point seems to be Adam Thielen still thinks he can be a wide receiver too, and the Vikings not so sure anymore about that. So the Vikings would like to keep him at a reduced salary and a reduced role, probably down to wide receiver 3. Thielen not ready to accept that the way it sounds. So impasse probably coming fairly soon on that one.
And a lot of us have thought that for the last couple of weeks.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yep. By the time you see this on Friday, something may have happened in that realm. We'll wait and see. A lot of stuff's got to happen between now and Wednesday, so keeping your ear to the ground, I guess. Then kind of the bigger bombshell that hit Thursday afternoon, Zadarius Smith has asked the Vikings to release him. Of course, he put his house up on the market here a few weeks ago, and it did sell. But then Zadarius went out today, posted a goodbye to the Vikings fans, and asked the team to release him. Now, the team has said publicly, at least to this point, they have no intention of releasing him. So things might get a little contentious there. My guess is they're going to try to trade him. But
that could be
by him coming out and saying he wanted to be released, that's going to kind of kill the trade market for him too.
Deal a lot, yes, yeah.
From Zadarius' standpoint, I think his cap hit is around like 13, 14 million or whatever it is for next year, which is a steal for a quality edge rusher. So my guess from him is, okay, he had 10 sacks and all those pressures and everything else. He figures he can hit more money on the open market someplace than what he would get here.
A quality edge rusher when healthy.
That's very true.
It seemed like he lost a lot of gas towards the end of the season this year.
Mm-hmm.
came out of a fucking cannon to start the year, and then just kind of sputtered his way to
Yeah,
the
once he got that knee contusion, he kind of disappeared after that.
No knock to Za'Darius, but that's the truth. Sometimes
Yep.
the truth fucking hurts. So
Yep.
when you're healthy,
Yeah.
you're a beast. But if you can't stay healthy, then what good's a person on the bench?
Right. But anyway, that's all the latest that we have as of 9 p.m. Thursday night as we're recording here. Stay tuned. If something breaks, we will do our best to update you on that. But with that, we'll roll into back to our positional breakdowns this week. We're going to throw tight ends and offensive line at you here. Since we didn't do one last week, we'll kind of lump the two together.
Makes sense.
We'll start off with the tight ends. Of course, basically what amounted to our second round draft pick for 2023, TJ Hawkinson.
That's a win.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get TJ Hawkinson for a second round pick, you take that every day of the week.
We're still developing, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, massive pickup, this past year. Genius trade by Kwesi as far as I'm concerned.
And the funny thing is it pissed off a lot of Detroit fans when it happened too.
Oh, absolutely.
But they did die down the stretch though, so that says enough too.
Yeah. Now Hawkinson, of course, will be playing on his fifth-year option in 2023, worth around $9 million and change. Very likely, I know the Vikings have said they would like to get his extension done before training camp. So
ideally for somebody like that, you'd want to get that done before the fucking market's even higher.
Yeah. And the same thing with Justin Jefferson. They basically said they want to do both of them sooner rather than later because Jefferson's price tag's only going to go up too.
That's the name of the game. Yeah.
Yep. Beyond that, as far as tight ends on the roster go, Johnny Munt is still with us. Solid tight end too. Did a decent job, I guess, while, when Irv Smith was out for the first half of the year before we got Hawkinson. I mean, he's not that elite pass catching tight end kind of dude. He
does his job though.
Yeah.
He does what he's asked to do, and that's about what you get.
Mm-hmm. Beyond Munt, Ben Ellefson also still under contract with the team. Of course, he missed just about the entire season on injured reserve last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now, and Ellefson, he's more of a blocking tight end. I mean, he can catch too, but he falls more into that blocking role.
Speaking of tight end,
yep.
That prospect that really intrigues me is that Kraft out of SDSU.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player. I've seen him play multiple times over the last few years, but we'll get into some.
Might slide into the mid to late rounds.
Yeah, we'll talk about the draft picks here in a second. So we'll keep. Then of course we also have Nick Muse on the practice squad, who is just right now just a guy.
Yeah, he did see some roster time last year, but basically, just a guy.
Yeah,
knows the system.
Few special teams plays, and that was about it last year. But
yep.
Now on the free agent side of things, I don't see the Vikings going after really anybody in free agency. There are some big names out there though. Dolphins tight end Mike Gesicki, Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys, Evan Ingram, Austin Hooper, Robert Tonyan from the Packers, Hayden Hurst from the Ravens. Our old buddy Kyle Rudolph is still out there.
Hang him up, bud. Hang him up.
Yep. Former Gopher Max Williams and also O.J. Howard. Now,
O.J. Howard's been fucking just waiting on that free agency list for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few names that intrigue me on there that are probably looking for a payday, being Gesicki and the other dude shortly after that you named.
Evan Ingram's going to have. I mean,
no,
he had.
Dalton
Schultz, yeah.
Yeah, Schultze and Giuseppe are going to be looking for a good payday somewhere.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't see us making much of a
we're not in need of a free agent tight end, really, in my opinion.
No, we're not. We have much bigger needs elsewhere. But now, as you mentioned a little bit earlier about guys in the draft, of course, you've got the big group here. Dalton Kincaid, the tight end out of Utah. He's the consensus #1 guy.
Right.
Very good player. Same thing with Michael Mayer, out of Notre Dame.
I just had the Halloween theme song go through my head there for a second.
Then Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State, who, interesting tidbit, is our former offensive coordinator, Bill Musgrave. That's his dad.
The little index card.
Yeah. Sam Laporte. Yep. Sam Laporte out of Iowa is another one. The aforementioned Tucker Kraft that you brought up from South Dakota.
I'm a huge fan. If we're going to go State at all this year in the draft, you take that 5th rounder you get for Dalvin Cook and you use it on Kraft. You either go up and use it to get leverage to go up, or I would love to get Kraft in here and pair him up with Hawkinson and JJ and Osborn and Naylor, man. Be nice.
Yeah, I don't see it happening though, but then the other one who showed out pretty well at the combine, Darnell Washington out of Georgia, and the Vikings actually did meet with him at the combine. So just due diligence, I'm sure there, but
yep. No, dude, we're getting everybody we talk to.
Oh yeah, we're going to draft 75 players with 5 draft picks. So.
Yep, we'll find a way.
This is the way.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's wraps up the tight end. So now we'll move over to the offensive line. Of course, at left and right tackle, we are pretty well set in stone with Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill. Got some good news from KOC on Thursday that they fully expect O'Neill to be ready by training camp.
Oh, thank God.
He had that Achilles issue at the end of the season last year. So
the Achilles heel was really his Achilles heel.
Right. Then, of course, we did re-sign Blake Brandel. He was exclusive rights free agent, and we did.
Good re-signing for once on the offensive line. Somebody that actually deserved, he's a good, if somebody goes down, come in and take a game, or two. He's what you'd want in that position.
He's serviceable anyway.
Exactly. More serviceable than what Rashad Hill. Yeah, a few years back. Anyways, moving along.
Moving on. Of course, Oli Udoh is a free agent. There has been talk about him potentially coming back. Now, I'm okay with him at tackle.
Yep, there you go.
Nothing to do with him at guard, but I will he's okay for a backup tackle as far as I'm concerned.
As he should be. It's his natural position. And then what trying to shove a square peg in a round hole or whatever, you say, but what Zimmer and Spielman were trying to do with him.
Right.
Everybody can play everywhere on the offensive line, no matter what their background is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Then, of course, we also have Vidarian Lowe, guy who didn't get a whole lot of run last year, but
developing.
Was on the active roster, but was not active on game day for most of the time. Then moving into the inside, of course, we have Ezra Cleveland and Ed Ingram as our starting guards.
Ingram really started coming around towards the end of the year. You weren't seeing all the bad calls or the flags that you were seeing earlier in the season, or the missed blocks. He did develop later in the season and he got better, so that's a plus. And Ezra is what Ezra is. We know what we got in Cleveland, so there's that. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Now, Cleveland is entering the final year of his contract also, so there's some questions there, but whether they want to try to re-sign him or not, that's probably a
really, it's one of those things you really don't have to worry about this year with an offensive lineman at the guard spot, and with somebody like Cleveland, I don't think it's really a problem at this point.
no, and he's you're not going to get him any cheaper than he's currently going to be at this year by or by extending him. So there's no real rush on that one, I don't think.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep. So then looking at the potential for bringing in any free agent guards, Chris Reed is still also under contract, who can play center and guard. Now there's been talk he could potentially be a cap cut, because you can save like $2.5 million or something like that by cutting him.
Man, he was horrible coming in cold. The next week he looked better, but when he coming in cold, he was horrible, man.
Yeah, that was bad. But
that game.
So questionable as to whether he'll be back. If we do decide to look at the free agent market for guards, there are a few out there. Trey Turner from Washington, probably going to be looking at some decent money for him. Another one that probably will command pretty decent money that I wouldn't mind having, Dalton Reisner from Denver.
Right.
Will Hernandez, who spent time with the Giants originally and most recently with Arizona.
Kind of had a down year there in Arizona.
Yeah. Then also Colby Gossett from Atlanta.
I think he's already been here.
Yeah, I think we had him at like a practice squad guy, I think, at one time.
Yep.
And then also Billy Price, also from Arizona, who was bounced around a little bit too. So not a whole lot of, there's a couple of decent players there and then just some other guys. So I don't know if we look to that or not, but.
Billy Price, what a name. Billy Price.
I know there's a lot of people that were high on Price when he first came out of the draft, but hasn't really lived up to expectations, I guess. But anyway, then moving on to probably the most key position on the offensive line we have to worry about is the center position, because as it sits right now, the only center that we have one center under contract, and that's practice squad Josh Sokol.
Or Chris Reed, I guess.
Yeah. We have Sokol.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, both Garrett Bradbury and Austin Schlottman are free agents. Now, there has been talk that the Vikings would like to bring Garrett Bradbury back.
Yeah, he had his best year of his career. Go figure. It took him all of his rookie contract to have his best year.
Right. Now,
he had his best year as a Viking this last season.
A couple of concerns I have with Bradbury. That back injury that he suffered. He looked pretty bad in that wild card game. Granted, it was first time playing in like 6 weeks, but
right.
And it took him. He had 3 bad years, and then finally in his contract year decides to play good. So did he turn the corner under O'Connell and the new offense, or did he just play well because he was trying to get paid? That's the big question there.
Right.
So at some point in time, we're going to be looking for a center, whether we bring one in free agency, whether we draft one, or bring Bradbury back, but something's going to be figured out there. If you're looking at free agents, we have a few that are potentially appealing there. We have starting off with the first Connor McGovern from Dallas, young guy coming off his first contract. He's 25, would be worth a look. Then you go to the old guy, Jason Kelsey. He's a free agent coming out of Philly. Now he's 35, pushing at the end of his
twilight of his career.
If you can get him cheap on a 1-year deal, maybe, but I'm kind of past all these old guys, so I
wouldn't be against getting somebody going into their second contract, looking in, dipping into free agency with that.
Yep. Then the next one, Ethan Pocic, who's most recently of Cleveland, also spent time in Seattle. There's been a few rumblings of, that being somebody the Vikings might target. Remains to be seen, I guess. Then we have the other Connor McGovern. Funny, we have two Connor McGoverns. Both of them play center, and both of them are free agents.
Dicey.
This one, the other one is with the Jets. He's 30, a little bit on the older side, but a possibility if we decide to go the free agent route, I guess. Now, if we look to the
but is JC Treader still available?
I think the ship has sailed on the JC Treader. Now, realistically, probably the more realistic approach might be getting somebody in the draft. There's a lot of good centers this year.
Absolutely.
Starting off top of the board with University of Minnesota's John Michael Schmitz. Pretty much the consensus number one center in the draft. Really showed out at the combine, did well at the Senior Bowl rather, did well at the combine.
Yep.
Probably worked his way into the back end of the first round, which would be right about where we're at. Beyond that, the next one, Luke, I believe it's Weipler from Ohio State. Now, myself personally, and this is just recency bias probably more than anything, but I want nothing to do with an offensive lineman from Ohio State. I mean, we struck out on the last three: Wyatt Davis, and of course Pat Elflein, and there was somebody else in there too, I think. But anyway, our luck with those guys hasn't been that great, so I guess I would just assume not tempt fate with Viper.
No.
Then there's Steve Avila from TCU. I haven't seen a lot of stuff on him, but I know he's kind of moving up boards a little bit. A couple of guys, though, that I have been paying some attention to. Joe Yeah, I'm getting him.
Okay.
Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin.
Tits, man.
Tip.
Oh, I thought you said tit man.
No, Tip Man. Not Tits Man, Tip Man.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Then Ricky Stromberg out of Arkansas.
Ricky Steamboat.
Sure.
The Dragon, man.
Now, I know who Ricky Steamboat is. Then, of course, the Michigan center that Lance just mentioned that I don't know that I can pronounce his name. It's Olusegun Oluwatumi.
Yeah, that guy.
Oli Watami or whatever, yeah.
He looks like a bad man for sure.
Yeah, he's intriguing to me. He'd be available in the mid rounds most likely.
That'd be a steal. That'd be a hell of a pickup.
Yep. Then one guy, if nothing else, just for his name, Juice Scruggs from Penn State.
Juice.
Got the juice.
You got the juice.
And then also Alex Forsyth from Oregon would be another one. But that pretty much wraps our offensive line, unless you got anything else you want to toss in on that. But
man, it feels like this is just coming up. It's coming up so fast, man. It's just all coming by so quick.
There's a lot of stuff to figure out here in the next couple of months for sure.
Well, fuck, the draft is the end of April.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking daylight savings time this weekend.
Yeah,
I know that has nothing to do with anything. I'm just saying.
It'll be late. It'll be lighter later.
Set your clocks forward this weekend, people.
Yes, spring forward. But anyway, with that, we're going to roll into another one of our classic beer commercials. So head on over to the fridge, grab yourself a cold one, crack it open, check this out, and we will be back in a minute.
Sounds pretty good. Can I see the guitar?
You play?
I've been known to.
That's cool. What's your name?
It's on your guitar.
Since 1873. Original Coors, pure and simple.
All right, we are back. And now, as we have been doing every week here, we're going to look at who the experts are picking that the Minnesota Vikings will be taking in this year's NFL draft, and what we call our mock draft roundup.
Keep rolling, 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 though the strings are swollen. Keep them doggies rolling, right.
All right, and with that, we will pop up our list for the week once again. A lot of familiar names on there this week, and a few new ones after the scouting combine has run its course, of course, last weekend. But starting off, cornerback again seems to be a fairly popular pick. But Ryan Wilson from CBS Sports and Dalton Miller from Pro Football Network both mock Keely Ringo, cornerback out of Georgia, to us. Now, he's a guy that's been mocked to us multiple times, pretty much every week we've done this. So, cornerback seems to be an easy pick again for the Vikings, as seems like it has been for the last 5 years. But
and the thing that's sad about that is it shouldn't fucking be, because we literally just had the cornerback whisperer here as our coach in the last X amount of years, outside of last year, excuse me. But it shouldn't be a problem. Is the deal?
Yeah,
we've taken corner 4 times in the last 10 years in the first round.
Yeah, it's been a lot of them. I know that, but
so, anyways,
right,
it's infuriating. We should have decent talent at the cornerback position with how many times we've addressed it in the first round in the last decade, and it pisses me off.
Tell us how you really feel, Lance.
Yeah, right.
Now this next one, this is one I am really intrigued by. I like this kid. Zay Flowers, the wide receiver out of Boston College. Lance Cartelli from DraftKings mocks him to us. This is a kid that I have on my radar as a very possible pick for us as our first pick, whether it's a 23 or whether we can move back a little bit maybe and get him. Kid's got a lot of speed. Not the biggest kid in the world. I think he's like 5'10", 5'11", something like that. But somebody who can take the top off the defense, which is what we need opposite Justin Jefferson. Then the next pick, I don't really agree with this one at all. Taking a interior offensive lineman, he's a guard out of Florida, Osiris Torrance. The Tankathon staff mock gave him to us. I think if we take a guard in round 1, people are going to riot. But
I don't like that at all.
No, I don't either. Then the next one, this guy is quickly becoming one of the favorite mocks to the Vikings. Cornerback out of Maryland, Deonte Banks. He was mocked to us by Sam Farmer of the LA Times, Jamie Elsner of the Draft Network, Todd McShay from ESPN, and also Fox Sports staff mock. I've heard a lot of good stuff about Banks, so I guess I wouldn't be heartbroken if we took him. Again, I'm going to fall back on your little mini rant you just went on about having to draft cornerbacks every year. But anyway, then the next guy, wide receiver out of USC, Jordan Addison. Again, guy I would be more than happy taking. And Addison was given to us by Matt Anderson over at the Vikings Wire. Next guy on the list, Lucas Van Ness, edge rusher out of Iowa. Given to us by Vinny Iyer of the Sporting News and Nate Davis of USA Today. Now with
Somewhat
the...
of a need.
What's that?
Somewhat of a need.
Yeah, especially with the news coming out with Zadarius Smith on Thursday that edge rusher may be moving up the ladder as far as stuff that we need to look at. Then next, another cornerback. This is a guy who on most boards is showing as like cornerback 1. Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. Ryan McChrystal from Sharp Football Analysis gives him to us. Then, surprise, surprise, another cornerback, Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State. Now, kid was a very good player in college. The concern I have with him is at the combine, he came in weighing 166 pounds.
Yeah, you got to put some size on, man.
For reference, that's 20 pounds lighter than Cam Dantzler came in with, and there's been concerns with Dantzler about his durability because of his size and everything since he's been coming in. So that concerns me a lot with this kid. So
Right, the talent is there, but the package as a whole needs some
right
something put on a little bit.
But being that size, okay, yeah, in college you can probably get away with that. In the NFL, I think there's going to be problems. Then next pick, we have another wide receiver, Quentin Johnston, wide receiver out of TCU.
Number 1 receiver on most lists, man.
Yeah, so
if that's the case, you got to jump on that shit.
Yep. Kyle Stackpole of CBS Sports mocks him to us. If he's there, definitely would be.
The rich get richer, man, if he's there, for sure.
Yep.
On offense, anyways.
Right. Then the next one, Keon White, edge rusher out of Georgia Tech. Lance Zierlein from NFL Network mocks him to us. Here again, edge rusher suddenly is becoming more of a need, I believe. So that's a very possible pick.
This next guy I'm more high on than White, anyways.
Miles Murphy, the edge rusher out of Clemson. Yeah, he's very high on a lot of people's draft boards. Pro Football Focus staff draft gave him to us.
I'd be okay with that pick.
Yeah, I would be too. Then the next one is Brian Breesy, defensive lineman out of Clemson. Matt Fitzgerald, Barstool Sports puts him there.
We need a true nose tackle, man.
Yep. Anything on the defensive line, I wouldn't be opposed to. Now this next one.
I love me some Brian fucking Branch.
Hell of a player.
Yes.
He's a safety, and of course we took a safety first round last year, but that's the thing about Brian Branch is his versatility. He can play
anywhere on the field.
He can play in the slot and the nickel, do a little cornerback, safety.
Do a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight.
He was mocked to us by the 33rd team staff draft. Again, there, which includes
one of my favorite players in this draft.
He's a hell of a player. I'm not going to argue that one bit. Then the final one for the week. This guy is kind of one of my draft crushes. I really like this kid. I haven't seen him mocked up into the first round before this week. He's been more of a mid-second to early third round guy, but
right down and get this guy and accumulate some picks along the way. That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. Mozzie Smith, a defensive tackle out of Michigan, would be a true nose tackle. He weighs in about 340 pounds, somewhere in that general area. Big dude, a lot of power.
We need here a true guy, a big, true fucking specimen at that nose tackle position.
And if we could get him, I would be more than happy with that.
Yeah.
But there again, I think we could probably get him in the second round. If we trade back into the second round or early third, I think he would be available there. But that's the roundup for the week. Just a quick note of which we were talking about players that the Vikings talked to at the scouting combine. Per our buddy Tyler Fornes, here is the list of the guys that we know that the Vikings talked to. Tulane running back Ty J. Spears, University of Minnesota running back Mo Ibrahim, guard from Minnesota Duluth Brent Lang, Florida quarterback AR-15 himself Anthony Richardson, Penn State cornerback Joey Porter Jr.
He'll be gone.
I've seen a lot of stuff where he's, he falls in that mid-teens to mid-20s range, so it's possible he's there.
Pedigree's there for sure.
Yep. Then another quarterback, UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson Robinson. He would be more of a mid-round guy. Alabama cornerback Eli Ricks. West Virginia wide receiver Bryce Ford Wheaton. Notre Dame edge rusher Isaiah Foskey. Florida defensive tackle Jervon Dexter. South Carolina quarterback Cam Smith. Kentucky quarterback Will Levis. Ole Miss running back Zach Evans. Boston College wide receiver Zay Flowers. And it sounds like the Vikings are really high on Flowers. So, again,
right,
keep an eye on that. And also Georgia cornerback Keely Ringo. So, they get 30 private visits with these guys. So they used up a bunch of them at the combine. Whether that means anything or not, I mean, it's due diligence on a lot of this stuff, so it really doesn't tell you anything. Back when we drafted Harrison Smith, they talked to him at the Senior Bowl once and then never talked to him again.
Right. Yeah.
So it remains to be seen, I guess. So, but anything else you want to hit on that before we move on?
No, I think we tackled it pretty well.
All right. With that, we have once again reached the best segment of the show as we look at the players to wear number 1 for the Minnesota Vikings in this week's edition of Brunswick's
101,
Best.
dude. Oh, yeah, one.
One, yes.
That's a good shot.
So,
that was a good shot of Warren Moon.
Yeah. So with that, Lance, why don't you
roll that beautiful bean footage?
All right.
All right. So, when the Vikings acquired Warren Moon from the Houston Oilers before the start of the 1994 season, there were people that thought they were crazy. After all, Moon was already 39 years old and should have been on the downside of his career at that point. However, Moon proved the doubters wrong. In his first 2 seasons with the Vikings, as he threw for over 4,200 yards in each of them years. In 1995, he was second in the NFL with 33 touchdown passes, though the Vikings only managed an 8-8 record that year. In 1996, he missed half of the season with a broken collarbone, and the starting job was given to good old Brad Johnson. That was Moon's last season in purple, as he went on to sign with the Seattle Seahawks. At the time, Moon's 2 seasons in purple represented the second and third highest passing yardage totals in the season in Vikings history. And he made the Pro Bowl in both of his seasons as the team's main starter. Warren Moon, this week, you made the list. Moving along swiftly and quickly to a guy that we all love to hate. That man is Mr. Gary Anderson. Now, after Warren Moon, we have kicker Gary Anderson. Anderson was also a grizzled veteran by the time he arrived in Minnesota and had one of the all-time great seasons in 1998, going perfect on all of his field goal attempts until, well, you know what happened.
Yeah.
His 84.5% success rate on field goals as a Viking trails only Ryan Longwell for accuracy in team history. And he's the 8th leading scorer in team history. He wound up playing 5 seasons with the Vikings, leaving the team after the 2002 season and playing for 2 more seasons with the Tennessee Titans before finally hanging them up at the age of 45. Gary Anderson, this week, you made the list. And that, my friends, is this week's Brunswick's Best. Thank you.
All right. And with that, it's been a long night here working on the technical difficulties and stuff. So that's really all we've got for the night. Just kind of a little note to you guys. We're going to be doing a little bit, some different stuff on some format and things like that. One thing we're going to do is we're going to break Brunswick's Best out into its own show. We're going to do like a video short, the shorts on them. Looking at probably putting those out Wednesday nights. So look forward to that as its own little show. We'll be adding all the old ones out there. What's that?
Short segment.
Yep. That's going to open us up for covering more stuff during the main show on Fridays. Potentially also might be throwing out a few other little short videos here and there. Working on some plans on that yet, but we'll keep you guys updated on that as we figure it out. Want to thank everybody for watching. As always, 101 episodes. Bigger and better things coming. We've got some more plans in the works. We're trying to work on getting some more guests on the show. Want to be doing some more live shows, which, speaking of live shows,
I was going to say it if you didn't say it, dude, but you got it.
Next Friday, Vikings Uncensored will go live.
This will be interesting, seeing how this week went.
Yep. Hopefully Lance's internet access works much better. But being we will be 2 days into the start of the league year and free agency, we thought it would be a good time to go live with all the latest. So make sure you guys are on. We'll take your comments and questions on the show. It'll be up to you guys what we talk about, a lot of it, but we're going to talk about any moves that the Vikings will be making in free agency, who got cut, who's getting signed, things like that, any contract extensions, and whatever else you guys want us to talk about. We're going to turn a lot of it over to you guys, but our first live show of the year, so we'll make it a good one for you guys. Again, if you're out and about, check us out on all your standard podcast channels, whether it be YouTube or the audio casts. We're all over the place, not too hard to find us. So again, thank you, everybody. If you have not done so, please hit that subscribe button down below. Help us out a ton, helps us build a brand, helps us bring more and better content for you guys. But with that, why don't you take us out of here, Lance?
Once again, as Rhino said, tell your friends, your mom, your dad, your sisters, your cousins about how great Vikings Uncensored is. Tell you what, I'm going to try to keep this short. I have to take a piss. So with that being said, we look forward to doing more live shows this year and in this season in general. See how it goes. But with that being said, we'll start that next week, going live next week, and we will see you all then. Skol.
Have a good weekend, everybody.